Somewhere around 800 years ago, the people of lowland Scotland started speaking differently from their neighbors to the south. They called it Scots, and for centuries it was the language of kings, of parliament, of poetry, the language of a nation. That one question changed everything, and Scotland is still arguing about it today. Is Scots a language, or is it a dialect of English? It sounds like a simple question. Linguists have been fighting over it for 300 years. Governments have weighed in, schools have taken sides, and the answer, depending on who you ask, changes what it means to be Scottish. This is Lost in Translation, and today we're going to Scotland. Not for the accent, not for the stereotype, but for a story about identity, survival, and what happens when a language gets caught between two versions of itself. Scots isn't Scottish Gaelic, that's a completely different language, Celtic in origin, spoken in the Highlands and Islands. Scots is something else entirely. It grew out of a Germanic dialect brought by Angles who settled in southern Scotland around the 6th century. By the 1300s, Scot had its own grammar, its own vocabulary, its own literature. It was the official language of the Scottish crown, used in law, in diplomacy, in the royal court. Then came 1603. King James VI of Scotland became King James I of England, and the court moved south to London. The prestige of Scots collapsed almost overnight. English became the language of power, and Scots, it got pushed to the margins. The King James Bible, one of the most influential books in history, was written in English, not Scots. That single decision shaped the literary standard for centuries. Scots didn't disappear, but it began a long, slow argument with itself about what it was. So what does Scots actually sound like? If you've ever heard someone say Dinafosh, it means don't worry, or I for yes, bra for fine or excellent, loch, which isn't Gaelic in everyday speech, it's Scots too. Scots has around 30 to 35,000 words that don't exist in English. It has its own spelling, its own idioms. Robert Burns, Scotland's national poet, wrote almost entirely in Scots. This is a Scots poem. The whole world sings it every new year, and most people don't realize they're singing in a language that governments have refused to officially recognize. And this is where the argument starts. Linguists have a saying, a language is a dialect with an army and a navy, meaning what separates a language from a dialect is often political, not linguistic. Scots has the grammar, it has the vocabulary. What it has never had consistently is official status. In 2010, Scotland's census included Scots as a language category for the first time. Over 1.5 million people said they could speak it, but in most Scottish schools, Scots has never been taught as a language. Children who speak it at home are sometimes still told to use proper English in the classroom. There are roughly 40 to 50 million people worldwide with Scottish ancestry. In Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, Scottish culture is everywhere. Burns Night, Highland Games, the St. Andrew's flag on bumper stickers from Carolina to Canberra. And this is what makes the Scots question so much bigger than one small country. When you strip a language of its official status, you don't just affect the people who speak it now. You affect how millions of people around the world understand where they came from. Language isn't just communication, it's memory. And when you call someone's language a dialect, you're telling them their memory doesn't count. The question of Scots is the question of belonging. And it turns out that question doesn't have a clean answer, only a very human one. Today, Scots is doing something unexpected. It's coming back, not through government policy, but through culture. There are Scots language poets, novelists, social media accounts, music. Young Scots are choosing to write in it deliberately. There's a Scots Wikipedia, there are Scots language podcasts. The Scottish Parliament has debated its official recognition more than once. And every time someone records a video, writes a poem, or sends a text message in Scots, they're making a quiet argument that this thing is real, that it counts. 300 years of argument and it's still not settled. But maybe that's the point. The fact that people are still fighting for it means it's still alive. Languages don't die because of grammar. They die when people stop believing they're worth speaking. Every language carries a whole world inside it. A way of seeing, a way of remembering, a way of belonging to something bigger than yourself. Scots has been called a dialect, a slang, a mistake. And yet here it is. Still spoken, still argued over, still loved. If you've ever been curious about a language, any language, that feeling is worth following. You can start exploring at scolingo.com.